too. Me too. Me too. Don't worry. Here it is. Okay. 3 through 6, 4 through 6. I'm not gonna remember that, but just flag me. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm sure there will be more folks trickling in, but I figured we'd go ahead and get started because it's after 9. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful Saturday, day before Mother's Day. My name is Tanisha Seraphin. I'm the Dean of the School and Community Initiatives Division here at TTC. What that means is my division oversees dual enrollment programs for high school students as well as youth apprenticeship programs. And our goal here at TTC is to provide seamless educational pathways for youth in our region. I'm going to let my counterpart here introduce herself really quick.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Marshall Grant. I'm the dual enrollment coordinator. I'm the one that does all the processing for the application. We assist with the advising for your students or for you all. So that's the role that I play.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, but really quick, how many of you students in the audience have already submitted applications for dual enrollment or have already expressed interest in the dual enrollment program for next year? Awesome, 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 awesome. How many of you have not done anything with dual enrollment, but you're here to learn more because you thought you got some information in the mail or you saw it on social media and you want to hear more about what it means to be a dual enrollment student in high school? Okay, awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. So let's talk about it. We're going to go over the dual enrollment program a little bit, kind of talk a little bit about collegiate expectations, what's expected of you as a student in this program, what it means in terms of tuition assistance, how it works with financial aid. So we're going to go over all the nuts and bolts of dual enrollment to get you ready for the next academic year. And then we'll open up the floor for questions. If you haven't had a chance before you leave today, we've got lots of information outside in the lobby. We have university transfer, 2 of our academic deans who are in charge of our associate degree programs that are designed to transfer to 4-year universities. They're here to talk with students and parents about what that looks like and how you can get ahead with that using dual enrollment. We have counseling services for those of you who have students with IEPs or 504 plans in the high school and need accommodations. We have someone here to talk with you about that. We have recruiting here to talk a little bit about what else we have to offer here at TTC. We have our National Honor Society for students. It's the Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society. That is available for dual enrollment high school students to participate in. Please check that out. There are scholarship opportunities and lots of fun activities associated with that society. We have financial aid, if you have questions about financial aid and how that's going to impact you after high school. And we have our bookstore here to talk with you. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but we also have a couple of folks stationed in one of our computer labs in this building. So if you have already applied for dual enrollment and you've received your login information, but you have no idea how to log into the student portal, or you want to understand our learning management system before your classes start, we've got folks here to sit down with you at a computer and show you how to do that. So if you express interest in that, we have a couple of folks who can walk you down to that computer lab after the presentation. So let's get started. All right, I want to give you a little bit of an overview or a snapshot of what TTC is like, because if you're going to be a dual enrollment high school student at TTC, you're also going to be a part of the college population. So this past academic year, we had 11,500 students, or this past spring semester, we had 11,500 students, a little bit more than that. And Trident Technical College is truly proud of our student population because it represents the community that we serve. The average age is 26. So yes, high school students, you're taking classes with adults. We are 63.3% female and 36.7% male. These are the demographic breakdowns for our student population. But if you note, one of the things that we did find is like we truly are representative of the community that we serve. So the demographics do reflect our community. As a part of our Trident Technical College community, our dual enrollment program is the largest in the state of South Carolina. So Trident is one of 16 technical colleges in South Carolina, and our dual enrollment program is the largest. So we have the most high school students. And in addition to that, this past spring semester, we had 2,040 students from all 3 counties taking classes: high school, private school, public school, homeschool associations, virtual schools. And that makeup was 18% of the college population. So 1/5 of our college makes up high school students. So that's really, really huge to us that our high school students are kind of taking over the college population to some extent. And I'm going to turn it over to Marshall, and she's going to talk a little bit about what dual enrollment means.
So what exactly is dual enrollment? Why do students opt to take dual enrollment courses? So dual enrollment, it allows students the opportunity to get pretty much a jump start on your college career or even your career. It allows you to get in and kind of get a feel for what college courses are, as well as give you those transferable credits that you can use. So under our dual enrollment program, we have dual credit as well as early admit. With early admit, these are students that have completed all of their high school credits but aren't ready to just graduate from high school. They may choose, I want to walk the stage with the rest of my class, or I want to hang on a little while longer. So they are earning their college credit, full college credit, and not taking high school credits. Oh. So again, why dual enrollment? Studies have shown that students who take dual enrollment, they're more likely to graduate from high school. They're more likely to continue their education, and they have more success overall. And again, it comes from the fact that they've got that experience. So experience kind of opens that door for them to see what that really is like. And it also gives them an opportunity to explore prior to getting full-blown into college or full-blown into career. So who's actually eligible for dual enrollment courses? We allow grades 9 through 12. Typically, 9th and 10th grade students, they have to demonstrate what we call exceptional ability. That means that you've proven that you can handle your high school coursework, your GPA is pretty good, and this has to be approved by your school administrator also. We do accept it, but we don't have a lot, but typically we do have 9th and 10th graders. You must reside within the Tri-County area, Berkeley, Dorchester, or Charleston, and high schools for early admit, if you want to do the early admit route, you have to be in grades 11 and 12. There are no exceptions. We, of course, can't allow 10th graders to try to get into early admit. And again, you also must reside within the Tri-County area for the early admit program. Our academic programs here at Trident, we have over 150 programs of study, 10 academic divisions, and of course, you have associate's degrees, university transfer, and applied technical. We also offer diplomas and certificates. And if I'm correct, we had 98 high school students last week who walked the Trident Tech stage either with associate's degrees, diplomas, or certificates. That's 98 high school students before they graduated from high school. So that's awesome. Our academic divisions are aeronautical studies, business technology, culinary arts, engineering, film and media visual arts, health sciences, humanities and social sciences, manufacturing, nursing, and science and mathematics. So these are all the areas that our students are able to delve into, to career explore through, and to get experience working with. We have 5 campus locations. Of course, you're on the Thornley campus, the main campus here on Rivers Avenue. We have Dorchester, Berkeley, Palmer campus, Mount Pleasant, and I always miss this other one. Dorchester Quick Jobs. in St. George. So again, 5 locations. Our students are able to take classes at any of one of those locations if you choose to take classes in person. Some students also base it on where they live, but you do have the option to take courses at any one of those locations. I'm gonna skip through that. Now we're going to talk about should I skip through that? Yeah, our collegiate expectations.
Oh, yes. You can also take classes online. That's what that is. All right. So collegiate expectations. So I like to, and we'll talk a little bit more about why this scenario or why this comparison makes sense when we talk about grading procedures and differences in grading scales in a little bit. But I always like to refer to our dual enrollment students as wishbone students, which means that when you're doing dual enrollment, you have 1 foot in the high school door and you have 1 foot in the college door. And you're being held to 2 different standards and expectations. What your high school teachers expect of you in your high school classes is going to be a little bit different than what your college professors are going to expect from you as a college student. One of the things that you're going to learn about when you're taking college classes is that the subject matter in those classes are typically designed for the mature learner. So a lot of the subjects and topics that are going to be discussed are going to be mature. The expectation is that you're going to behave accordingly and conduct yourselves accordingly in those classes. Some of the subject matter might be potentially controversial. Some of the classes that you take, a lot of the reading assignments may discuss things like warfare and mental health, cultural practices and the differences with those. Some of the topics may be emotionally charged. Some of them may challenge your current belief system. But it's important to remember that those topics, those things, are designed to increase your understanding and increase awareness of what's going on around you, real-world current events. Our goal is not to shift your views, your cultural views, or endorse anything that's outside of what you represent or what you believe in. It's just to make you aware. But that's something that may be a little different than what you're exposed to in your high school classes. So a lot of the content is going to be for the mature learner. And what you'll find when you're reading a lot of our dual enrollment materials, parents, what we say is that, Trident Tech is an adult learning environment. So if your student is taking classes here at TTC's campus or even online, they're going to be taking those classes with other adults. So the expectation is that they will behave and conduct themselves accordingly. So when you get into your classes, you start your classes at the very beginning of the semester. Your instructors or your college professors are going to give you what's called a class syllabus. And a syllabus is something like a contract or an outline of the expectations in that class. It's going to talk about the college's policies. It's going to talk about the class policies and what's expected of you. It's going to talk about the coursework that you're going to be doing in the class. It's going to talk about your attendance and what's expected of you with that. How it works with late work. If you turn something in late, what happens? If you miss an assignment, what happens? The grading, so how your assignments and exams and quizzes will be graded. The student conduct, like we just talked about, and more. Your goal at the beginning of that class is to take that syllabus home, read it with your parents, look over it, make sure you have an understanding of what's being expected of you. If there's something that you don't understand, then you need to be asking questions. And you keep asking until you feel confident that you understand. Because policies that are outlined in that syllabus, they're not a suggestion, they're enforced. So if your instructor tells you no late work, you get a 0 if you don't turn it in on time. That means you get a 0 if you don't turn it in on time. And there's no exceptions to that. So make sure you ask questions and have that conversation with your parents to make sure that you're comfortable with what's being expected of you when you're taking these classes. Attendance. So let's talk a little bit about that. College, at least here at Trident Tech, our attendance policy is a little lenient. However, at the very beginning of the semester, we're going to be a little more aware or paying a little bit more attention to who's attending classes. At the beginning of each term, college professors are actually required to verify the accuracy of their class rosters. And so they're going to look and see who's been attending their classes. And anybody who has never attended or participated in the class by the end of the, let's say, first week of the term or semester, they're going to be reported as never attended. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that you could potentially be dropped from your courses. So attendance is usually verified at the beginning of the semester in one of two ways. If you're taking a face-to-face class or what we call in-person classes, the student must attend at least one class session within the first week of the term. That's usually the requirement. So as long as you attend the first week, you'll be counted as present in the class. Now, that might be separate from what your instructor is expecting of you. You may have participation grades where if you attend class and you do some participation in class, you'll get a grade for that. But in terms of attending and making sure that you're staying on the roster, you need to attend at least one class session. And then if you're taking an online class, whether it's online and self-directed, or if it's online with a scheduled class meeting where you're logging into Zoom or something similar to attend class virtually, you're required to submit an attendance verification assignment online through our learning management system. Your instructor will have an announcement where they tell you you need to do this by this published date in order to verify that you are actively participating in the course. If you do not at least attend an in-person session or do that attendance verification assignment, then you could be dropped from your class as never attended. That means that you're dropped from the course, the class doesn't appear on your TTC transcript, you don't get a grade, but you're dropped. And if you're taking a fast-paced course, like a 7-week or a 3-week course, that time adds up pretty quickly, so you don't want to be dropped. Make sure that if you're logging in and you're accessing your courses or you're attending class, you want to make sure that you're paying attention and make sure that your professor knows that you're participating. Again, so if you fail to meet those expectations, then of course you're dropped as a never attended student, and then those courses don't appear on your transcript. You don't get any tuition charges associated with that. Now, if you are dropped, let's say you were doing your work, you did do that attendance verification assignment, but you log in and all of a sudden your class has disappeared. There does come a time where potentially an instructor may make a mistake and drop you by accident. You do have the authority or the ability to request to be reinstated or added back to the class, and we can try to get you added as quickly as possible back into that course so that you can proceed. So in the event that there's something that happens where you're dropped and you shouldn't have been, you have to let the college know so that we can try to get you in that class, back in that class as quickly as possible. So, going back to the syllabus, that contract that we talked about. The syllabus includes sections from the college's student code. So we have an honor code that's expected of you as a TTC student. It's also in our student handbook. We talk a little bit about classroom civility. Remember I said you behave and conduct yourselves accordingly in your classes. So what we expect is that you will show courtesy and respect to your instructors, so your college professors, as well as your classmates, both online and in the classroom. So we make sure that our instructors have the right to teach and our students have the right to learn. So no disruptions. And believe me, when you're sitting in a college class, you're not likely to be disruptive because you're going to want to represent what you're seeing from your classmates. But just know that that's something that we take very seriously. All right, Marcelle's going to talk a little bit about the impact of dual credit.
And I just wanted to take a second to bounce off of the never attended. You want to make sure that you're attending the classes, especially if these are classes that you need for high school graduation. You don't want to not or be dropped from a class that you're going to need to graduate, especially if you opt to take this class in the spring. It is going to be imperative that you log in and you submit these assignments because a never attended could hinder your graduation. Okay, so I just wanted to add that one little note in there. So what's the impact of dual credit on your high school records? So you earn 1 unit toward your high school credit. So If you're taking a 3-hour class, that's 1 unit. So if you're taking English 101, that will serve as 1 credit on your high school transcript. Your performance in dual credit, it will directly affect your high school records and your graduation, as I stated just a second ago. These grades will go back to your schools. We'll get into the grading policy in just a second, but your grades will be reported back to your counselors. So they will see what these grades look like, okay? And again, it will affect your high school graduation. So one of the reasons that we keep in close contact with our counselors is because we want to make sure that our students or you all are on track and doing what you're supposed to be doing, because we don't want you taking a class that's not going to count towards your high school graduation if it's needed. Okay, we don't want you just picking classes just because it's a great opportunity and you want to get into the veterinarian program and you're excited about that. That's why we stay in contact, because again, if you're taking that class, but you still need that English to graduate, we're going to put more weight on that English class, okay? So again, dual credit does directly affect your grading. So what's the grading procedures? Again, TTC will report the earned numeric grade back to your high schools, and each institution will award the final grade based on the grading scale. Our grading scale is a little bit differently, and you'll see that come up in just a second. So they will do all of those calculations. So at the end of each semester, our registrar's office takes the grades that they receive for their schools and they send them back, and then you will see them appear. I don't know if some of you might use PowerSchool. You'll see those grades appear, and the counselors will, again, do the calculations, and they will appear on your transcripts. This is our grading scale, so it's about a point difference. So what you might think for us, if you say get that 80 or that 79, oh my God, if you get an 80 here at Trident Tech, that's a C for us. Whereas at your school, that might be a B, okay? I will also say that the great thing about dual credit classes is that these do have some AP weighting. So it does help your GPA if you allow it to. Again, I will say if you allow it to, okay? You want it to work in your favor, not against, okay? And my one caveat, and Dean Seraphin knows, I have a 15-year-old. So it's very important that whatever decisions you make concerning dual credit, you make it work in your favor and not against, okay? So we are about a point difference. You are able to drop a class if needed. If you feel like you get into the class and it's too hectic, it's too much, you're not sure if you're ready for it, you do have that option, but you also have to do it within a particular time frame for it not to hurt you, okay? The drop period for the quarter or the term is 7 to 9 weeks. You have 7 business days. So you have 7 business days from the first day of that class beginning to say, I don't want to be in this class anymore. For the semester, which is 14 total weeks, you again still have 7 business days, okay? Now, I would not advise that thinking in your mind, I'm going to get out of this class, I don't like this class, and just not attending this class at all because you don't want to take it. It's not going to help you. You don't want to wait past those 7 business days to get out of that class, because at that point, you're being graded. And whatever those zeros go down, that's going to get reported back to your high school. So if you decide that this is not for you, I'm not liking this class, this is too much, I'll take it in another semester or another quarter, you have 7 business days to let your counselor and our office know that you want to be removed from the class so that we can get you removed in a timely fashion so that it does not count against you. Same goes for the add period. If there's a class that you say, oh, I think I want to put this here instead of this, or I want to take this instead, you have 3 days to do that from the start of the classes. In the quarter, you have 3 days. 5 days if it's a semester-long class to decide if you want to add another class, okay? So you want to really take some time and kind of evaluate what you really want to do. You don't want to get into something and go, I'm going to get out of it, and then get something else and go, I'm going to get out of it. Really take some time and evaluate what classes you want to get into. Is it going to be beneficial to your high school transcript? And if these classes are going to transfer to whatever college you want to go to, or if it's going to be on track for what you want to do if you come to TTC. So again, you really want to take some time and make sure that you're on track with what you're doing, okay? Our course withdrawal policy. If you withdraw from a class, now Drop is different from withdrawing, okay? Let me explain the difference. Dropping from a class is basically, again, deciding that this is not a good fit for me, I don't want to participate in this class. Again, you have a small window. Students who opt to withdraw from the class, they've taken the class and they're not very successful in it. They might not have been attending the class the way they should be, and it gets to that point where I need to get out of the class. They will request a withdrawal. However, for us, this is just a W on your first college transcript, just a W. But it goes back to your school, and it is a recorded 50. So here's how I advise students. If you're in this class and you were thinking you're going to get that 89 and it's a 72 instead, you might want to consider keeping the 72 versus withdrawing from the class and taking a 50 hit on your transcript, okay? You want to weigh those options out, okay? Can you retake the class? Absolutely. How your high school will handle that is totally up to the discretion of the school. But you want to kind of weigh out your options. Is that 72 as bad, or is the 50 going to be worse on your high school transcript? So you really, really, again, I cannot stress enough, you really, really, again, want to weigh out your options and make the most reasonable decisions. Okay. Some of the courses or the colleges that our courses go to, as you can see, it's a plethora and more, okay? Anywhere from the University of South Carolina, Clemson, Purdue, Winthrop, my alma mater, Emory, Duke, CSU, you name it, a lot of schools are beginning to take our transferable credits. What I also advise students to do also is you have a series of colleges that you're interested in as you approach senior year and you're thinking about where you want to go. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. Let them know what your plans are here with TTC and have the discussion with an advisor there or someone in another department as far as what courses they will transfer. We also have a wonderful department here that could advise you and help out, depending on what area of study you want to go into, as well as we have pathways guides on our website that can also give you some guidance. So again, you're not limited. You're not limited. So don't think that just taking the classes here at Trident are just for Trident. They go beyond to other schools, okay? Some of the most frequently taken courses are pretty much the math and the sciences, the Englishes, public speaking, foreign languages. This is where a lot of students begin with their coursework here at TTC. And these are also the most frequently transferable credits as well, okay? So again, you want to think about those. A lot of students take the macro and microeconomics because they need those for graduation. They take the political science for government because, again, they need it for graduation. So again, you want to have a clear understanding of what you're taking it and why you're taking it. This is where your guidance counselors are also going to come into play because they're going to see what you're going to need, okay? I'm really big with communication. How many of you check your emails every day? Good, okay. Once you are a TTC student, there are no phone calls. There's nobody calling you to say, come to my office because I need to meet with you. Everything is done via text message. Not text message, I'm sorry. Everything is done via email, okay? You will want to check your emails on a regular basis. This is how you find all of your information. Your student records, your email address, everything is located inside of your student portal. Your D2L learning system, that's where all of your assignments will be. That's where your instructors will communicate with you. You will be able to see your grades. You'll see everything. And I know it gets kind of tedious because we sit on computers all day, but you want to make sure that this is how you're communicating. Not only are we communicating with you this way, but we need you to communicate back with us in the same fashion, okay? You don't want to miss any details. You don't want to miss any details. We see it all the time. I didn't know this was happening. Well, we sent you the email on this date, and we have proof of it. This is how TTC communicates. As you can see, the numbers of students that we have here at TTC, it would be a lot to pick up the phone and call everyone every time we have something going on, okay? Remember to look into your portal, and again, our personnel that are here that are going to assist you if you have any questions about the portal or the D2L system. But just remember that those are the two key systems as far as communicating with staff and faculty here at TTC. This is what your student portal will look like. Just a picture of it. Again, full access to everything that you need. Emails, grades, unofficial transcripts, billing. We do not send out paper bills. All of this is communicated through the system. So you want to familiarize yourself with your student portal. You want to spend some time in it. Do not wait until the first day of class starts to try to get into that portal and to understand how to operate it. I do not advise that. You want to make sure that you get all the glitches and you have an understanding of how to navigate through it prior to the first day of class. You want to get into your D2L system prior to the first day of class to see what announcements are there and what else is going, whatever messages might be there. You want to navigate before the first day of class. So this is what it'll look like. If you get to this screen, you're on track, okay? And again, this is the D2L learning system. This is, again, where all of your information for your particular classes are housed. All of your communication with your instructors are housed in the D2L system. Our Learning Resource Center, one of the great things about Trident Tech is that we have relationships with other schools. So for our library, say if we don't have a book here, or we don't have a resource here in our library that you may need, you can also check out that information from the College of Charleston, CSU, the Citadel, and MUSC with your TTC ID. Or they can even do an interlibrary loan for you if necessary. So we do have that partnership that is available. Tutoring services. Tutoring services. If you need help, don't hesitate to say that you need help. You have full access to everything that our traditional students have access to on this campus. You have Writing Center, the Math Tutoring Center, the Spanish Tutoring Center, the library. You can come here and utilize these services. I've even told students, if you're a TTC student and say you're not taking a math class here at TTC, but you might need help in that algebra class at your school, you have access to come and get assistance if you're a TTC enrolled student, okay? Utilize your services, utilize the help. It's okay to need help, and it's okay to say that you need the help. So again, all of these services are available to you even as high school students if you're a dual enrollment student, okay?
All right, so if you, parents, have a child who wants to participate in dual enrollment, and let's say they attend a high school and are on a 504 or IEP plan, we would not be able to use those plans for accommodations in the college classes that they would be taking for dual enrollment. So there is a separate process that your students would have to go through in order to receive accommodations for those classes. And that's usually managed by our counseling services department, services for students with disabilities. The process is usually really simple. You just have to reach out to that department, let them know that you need accommodations. There's some documentation that they'll request from you to verify, and then they'll determine what reasonable accommodations they're able to provide to your student for those classes. But it's important to know and not just assume that because your child has one of those IEPs or 504s, that's automatically going to carry over to the college. It will not. You actually have to request separate accommodations for your dual enrollment classes. And we do have counseling services here if you have specific questions about how that process works and what kinds of reasonable accommodations might be available to your student. Counseling services also provides a lot of really cool opportunities for students, lots of workshops to help with all kinds of things like study skills, if you have test anxiety, if you have issues with time management, especially if you're a rising senior. Believe me, senioritis is a thing. So we have opportunities available to help you with that. If you have anxiety with math or you've got some stress going on and you need some help talking through it, our counseling services can provide lots of really cool resources and helpful resources to kind of walk you through that. So Marshall talked a little bit about student ID when you're going to the library. You do need a student ID. It's not necessarily required for you to attend a class here at the college, but if you want to check out things from the library, if you want to use our fitness center, because we have a fitness center here on campus, if you want to use some of the resources here on campus, you should go ahead and get yourself a student ID card. You can visit our Student Life Center to get a student ID card printed. They just need a copy of your schedule, so you'll need to be registered for classes before you do that. And then they'll need some form of picture ID. So your school ID, driver's license, state ID, something like that. And then it's free to get your student ID card made. And I think you do have to update it each semester that you're enrolled so that we know that you're an active student. But the process is really easy. Okay, so we're going to talk about something that I'm sure the parents have questions about. Tuition and fees. So traditionally speaking across the board, students who take classes for dual enrollment are responsible for the cost of their tuition and textbooks unless otherwise directed by their high school or their school district. Now, with that being said, we do have tuition assistance opportunities available to students while they're still in high school. They do not need to apply for FAFSA to receive these, but there are some criteria that they have to meet in order to be eligible. The first type of tuition assistance is the South Carolina Lottery Tuition Assistance. It's available for students who are enrolled in at least 6 college credits, which is typically about 2 classes within the same semester. So 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, 2 classes in the summer. And then we also have our need-based scholarship, which is available for high school students who would traditionally qualify for the free or reduced lunch program in their schools. If you are a homeschooled student or you attend a virtual school, we have an opportunity for you to be able to submit documentation to our financial aid office, and they'll be able to determine that whether or not you would qualify if you were a public school student. So there is an opportunity for homeschooled and virtual school students as well. So this year, tuition and fees for classes taught by a TTC instructor. Most of our classes are roughly 3 credit hours or 3 credits, and the total cost for that one class would be about $566. Some courses do include additional fees. We do have a digital textbook program, so those fees would be tacked on to the tuition costs for those classes. But if you take at least 2 of those classes, then you would be eligible for the SC Lottery Assistance. The criteria to qualify, in addition to having those 6 credits, you have to be a South Carolina resident, which means you have to have lived in the state of South Carolina for at least 1 year prior to enrollment. You have to be a U.S. citizen. And then, of course, you've got to be in at least 6 credits within the same semester. So we have had instances where we've had a student take 1 class in the fall and 1 class in the spring and think that both of those classes count for that lottery assistance. They do not. You have to take at least 2 classes within the same semester to qualify for this lottery assistance. And when I say here at the bottom that it does not start our 8-semester scholarship clock for Life Scholarship, that means that anything that you would be eligible for in terms of the Life Scholarship is not associated with SC Lottery Assistance. So you can receive that lottery assistance while you're in high school and still meet the eligibility requirements to qualify for the Life Scholarship after you graduate. For the need-based scholarship, of course, you have to qualify for free or reduced lunch or meet the federal income guidelines for the free or reduced lunch program. Of course, you still have to be enrolled in that 6 credit hours. We still have that requirement. And we are checking your GPA, and we're checking your college GPA, not your high school GPA. So we want to make sure that any classes we're putting you in, you're doing really, really well in those classes. So you need to maintain a 2.0 college GPA to continue receiving that scholarship. Traditionally, the scholarship covers any remaining tuition and fees after lottery assistance. It does not include physical textbook costs, so unless your high school or your private school provides textbooks for you, you would be responsible for going to our bookstore to purchase textbooks. But remember I said we have a digital textbook program, and there's a fee associated with the tuition. So if you do qualify for the need-based scholarship, right now, those digital textbook fees are being covered along with the tuition costs for those students who qualify. Okay, life scholarship. If you have specific questions, of course, we have financial aid here to talk with you, but I do want to bring this up because it's very important. When we say you are strongly encouraged to do your very best in these classes, we do mean it, because it does have a long-term impact. It can have a great long-term impact, but it can also have a rough long-term impact if you don't do well in your classes. So, does dual enrollment affect my eligibility for the life scholarship? For those of you who don't know, the state of South Carolina has a merit scholarship, South Carolina Life Scholarship. There are 3 requirements that you must meet, there are 3 requirements, and 2 of which you must meet in order to receive it as soon as you get out of high school. If you're going to a 4-year university, you have to have a 3.0 final high school GPA. You have to have a qualifying SAT or ACT score, or you have to be in a certain percentage or ranking in your graduating class. So 2 of those 3 requirements you have to meet in order to qualify for the life scholarship if you're going to a 4-year university. If you're planning to stay at TTC after you graduate, you only have to have a final high school GPA of 3.0 or higher. So that's great when you're fresh out of high school and you get that life scholarship. However, after your first year of college, what happens is no matter what institution you go to, whether it's Trident, another 2-year college, a 4-year university, after your freshman year of college at that institution, they're going to calculate what's called a all-college GPA. And they're going to look at everything you took in your freshman year of college, and then they're going to go back and see what you took for dual credit in high school, and then they're going to calculate a GPA based on everything you took between dual credit and your freshman year of high school. If that all-college GPA is not at least a 3.0, you could lose your life scholarship. So, please, pay very close attention when you're going to these classes. I will shout to the rooftops, dual credit, dual enrollment is an amazing opportunity for high school students. But if you're not going to take it seriously, then I don't want to encourage it unless you are absolutely ready, because there are long-term impacts on your financial aid and things like that, especially a merit scholarship like life scholarship. So just make sure you keep that in mind. You should be doing as well as you possibly can. And just like Marshall said a little while ago, it's okay to need help. So if you're struggling in a class and you need some tutoring, you want some help, we have free services here available. If you're struggling in your classes, let your professors know. Let us know. Let your counselors know. Because we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. But you have to tell somebody so that we can intervene and try to get you the services and the assistance that you need. But don't sit and wait and then risk messing up your GPA either on the high school side or down the road in college. So it's very, very important to pay attention to that. And I wanted to put this, I wanted to put this in here to just kind of give you an idea of the cost comparison for students who take classes here at TTC and what it looks like when you go off to a 4-year university. Clemson is amazing. USC is amazing. College of Charleston is amazing. All of these other institutions are amazing, but look at how much it costs for a 3-credit class at any of these institutions versus what you're going to be doing for dual enrollment here at TTC. You're saving money. You're saving money. And if you do really well, that helps you save money down the road, because those classes that you need for whatever you're planning to go to college for in the future, you will have that taken care of, and that's one less course you have to take when you go to that university. So I like to share that and let you know that we do try to make Trident Tech as affordable as we possibly can. Okay. You want me to talk about this? Okay. So we gotten through the nitty gritty with tuition and fees and tuition assistance and all that good stuff. Now I'm definitely interested, haven't signed up for classes yet, haven't applied yet. How do I qualify for dual enrollment? Well, you have to have permission from your high school or your homeschool association in order to do it, because if you're doing dual credit, it's going to impact your high school GPA. If you're doing early admit, you're not fully out of high school yet, so we still need their permission to enroll you in classes. So you do need permission from the high school. Parents, we need your permission to enroll them because they're not quite out of high school yet, so we need your permission. And then, of course, high school students, you've got to prove to us that you're academically ready. So we need to see that you have met the academic requirements to be enrolled in college classes. So academic readiness, what does that mean? We're looking for test scores. So traditionally, the college accepts SAT scores, ACT scores, and then the college has a placement test called the AccuPlacer that you can take either at your high schools. A lot of our high schools in the area have it loaded in the computer labs right on campus, or you can come here to TTC and take it. The cool thing about AccuPlacer when compared to SAT, ACT is as soon as you finish the exam, you get your scores, so you know exactly how you did before you even leave the college. And then you have, with AccuPlacer, you have 3 times to take it. So let's say you go in and you take it, you didn't do so hot, you can come back and take it a second time, and you can come back and take it a third time until you achieve the score that you need. We also have what's called alternative placement. So let's say you took SAT, you took ACT, you're not a great test taker, you took AccuPlacer, you can't cut the scores that you need. We can accept an unofficial high school transcript, so we want to see what your GPA is looking like in the high school. We want to see how you're doing in your high school classes, so we can use that to determine if you're ready for college classes. We can look at your PSAT scores. We can look at your pre-ACT scores. If you've taken AP classes and you've achieved the minimum AP exam score, we can use that as well. So there are ways to qualify, but traditionally, we do look at standardized test scores. If you have questions, parents, students, if you're trying to figure out whether or not your student qualifies, Marshall and I are happy to help kind of determine that. If you attend a public school or private school in the area, talk to your school counselors or your representatives. They can help you with it as well. We have trained all of the counselors and administrators on how to look for those alternative placement requirements, but we're happy to help. But this is traditionally what we're looking for. We want to verify that you're actually ready to jump into those college courses. How do you apply? So the college has an online application that you have access to as a high school student. So if you go to Trident Tech's website and you go to Get Started, you find high school students. We have a link with instructions on how to complete the online application, and then there's a link to create an account. In addition to that online application, remember I said you have to have permission from a parent and permission from your school. There is a dual credit or dual enrollment signature page. It's a permission form. So students, you have to sign it. Parents, you have to sign it. And then you have to get your high school or homeschool association to sign it. That form comes back to us for processing when it comes to your application. And then we need that proof of academic readiness. So your test scores or your transcript or your AP score, we got to get that information as well. Once we have your online application, your test scores or your transcript or whatever you're using for placement, and that signature page, then we can process your application, you'll get an acceptance letter, and then we can proceed to the next step, which is registration. And Marshall will tell you, those 3 things are critical. So don't think, okay, I've done the signature page, I've got it signed, I turned it into my counselor, I'm done. Make sure you do that application online. Make sure you get your academic readiness documentation together, because all 3 components are required to complete the admission process. Okay, you've gotten through that part. You're admitted. You got the acceptance letter. You got everything you need. Now you're ready to register. What do I do? We have dual enrollment classes located at pretty much most of our local high schools. So if you attend a public school, private school, charter school in the area, chances are we're offering dual enrollment classes right there, which means that parents, your students can take the college classes right on the high school campus during the school day, which could be convenient for you if you're not trying to drive your kids to Trident Tech to take classes. They can take it right at high school in most cases. And if you have been in your IGP meetings and you've talked to your school counselors, they've likely already told you about that. If you are planning to take classes on your high school campus, registration usually occurs between my office and the school counseling office at those schools. So you don't have to do anything. Your job was to complete the application and get the permission and all of that stuff turned in. Once you've done that, we'll take care of the rest with your high school. And then when you go to register in the fall for high school, you'll get your high school schedule. Those classes will appear on your high school schedule, and you'll just go to class like you normally do. However, if you're planning to take college classes at TTC or online, students, you have to tell us that you want to take those classes. We don't assume. You have to tell us. And it's important for you to understand that if you're taking a class either on a campus or online, you're competing for seats with the rest of the college. So the earlier you can get this process done, the quicker we can get you registered and secure your seat in those classes. But you have to tell us. We have an online request form that you'll complete and say, I want to take English 101. I want to take math, college algebra. And I want to take it at 9:45 on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Thornley campus. You tell us what you want to take. That online form, we say you request registration. So we do not allow high school students to register themselves because of the permission that we require from parents and from the high school. So you request the registration, and we take care of that registration for you. So once you're admitted, you've got access to your TTC account, you'll be able to submit a request form. It'll come to our office. We'll review it. We'll approve it. And we'll send you back confirmation when you've been registered. And if you attend a public school, charter school, private school, we send confirmation of that registration back to your high school as well, so they know that you're taking those classes either on our campus or online. So everybody's on the same page. Okay, we've covered a whole lot of stuff in a lot of time. I want to open the floor up to all of you for any questions that you might have, and we'll try to get those answered, okay? Yes, sir. Yes, I believe we do. We do provide Microsoft 365 services free of charge to all TTC students, including dual enrollment. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, that's a great question. Lottery tuition assistance. So for those who couldn't hear the gentleman, he asked, how much does that lottery tuition assistance cover? The amount that they cover is set by the state. Currently, it's covering, for 2 classes, a little less than half of the total cost. So 2 classes right now is about a total of $1,100. With the lottery assistance, it's about $600 and some odd dollars plus the cost of textbooks. So a little less than half of the total cost. Yes, sir. Then it would be double that. Yeah. So it would be based on credit hours. So for every single credit hour, from 6 up to, I believe, 15 credit hours, lottery will cover right now about $85 per credit. And I'll go back. Oh. Come on up. Come on up. While you guys are walking up, let me come back here. So tuition costs, we charge by the credit. So $188 per credit. So with lottery assistance, if you take 6 or more hours, it covers $85 per credit. So a little less than half. Okay, come on up, mom and student. This is Ellen Kaufman. She actually is our youth apprenticeship coordinator here at the college. She works on my team. But she's also a parent of two former dual enrollment students. This is Shane. Shane is one of her former dual enrollment students. So I wanted you, students and parents, to kind of get a feel or hear from them what the experience was like for a parent and a student in the program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My two younger sons were a little off the beaten track, and they decided that traditional high school eventually was not for them. He was a former Ashley Ridge. Anybody from Ashley Ridge here? Okay, former Ashley Ridge. His brother went to PSA, Palmetto Scholars Academy, and they just eventually, PSA, all right. And they got to about 15, 16, and said, we just don't want to do this anymore. So we got together with At Home in the Low Country. Anybody here homeschool? That was our homeschool association. And they took their classes here so that they could fulfill the requirements for a high school diploma here in South Carolina. And Shane's brother Spencer entered College of Charleston with 49 college credits under his belt. And Shane entered with 39. And I think that Shane would agree with me that the instructors here were awesome. The classes were challenging, but he wouldn't have changed that for anything. And it is the biggest bang for your buck. You cannot beat it. You are going to get a rigorous education here, but you're going to pay a fraction of what you would anywhere else. Yes? Yes. What did you take? You took French, honey. French, right. I think both. Yes. Yes.
And it can transfer over to, it will transfer over to.
It does count as a foreign language requirement on the high school side as well. Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. It's not taking away from the money that you receive with that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes. Do you want to? We got a computer lab. Yes. Shane, would you be so kind to walk the student and parent down to? He'll take you down to see somebody and get some help. Yes, ma'am, in the back. Oh, Ms. Kaufman, do you want to answer that? How does dual credit work with the apprenticeship program?
I didn't see that coming. That's work, you know what I mean? That's my job. Here, I'm just saying it's a great idea for. It works if your child applies for an active youth apprenticeship pathway. The hiring cycle begins in early February, so we're well into that already. And the student is still in high school, either going to be a rising junior or a rising senior. They will become, if they're not already, they will become a dual credit student here at the college. So the required courses for whatever their pathway is, industrial mechanics or nursing or culinary, are dual credit classes. They will get credit at their high school, and of course, they will get college credit, and the program will pay for a certificate directly related to their career path that they've chosen in the youth apprenticeship. So they get approximately 30 college credits free of charge. The program also pays for any books or fees or materials that go along with that. So that also is, you can't beat that deal. It's learn and earn.
And if you have a student who is hired as a youth apprentice, if y'all have questions about what youth apprenticeship is, I'm gonna plug Ellen here, Ellen Kaufman. She's our youth apprenticeship coordinator. Feel free to ask her for a business card or reach out to her if you have questions about that. But if you are a youth apprentice and you are also wanting to take other classes for dual credit, let's say you're a youth apprentice and you want to get that English credit out of the way to graduate from high school, you can take additional classes through dual credit in addition to being a youth apprentice. Does that help? Okay. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Oh, what private school do you attend? Faith Christian. We do have some dual enrollment students from Faith Christian that take our classes. It's really based on, I believe, what they will allow your student to take with us. But that would be a conversation you'd have to have with them if they're primarily doing dual enrollment with another institution and you would like to come through us. So I would say start with them, and if you have questions and you need us to help with navigating that process, we can absolutely have a conversation as well. But I'd start there first. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. You could. You could. So we didn't talk about that in our presentation, but we do have some students who are really diligent high school students and are able to take enough classes to complete an associate degree. 2 of our school districts have early college programs where students can start taking classes in the 10th grade with the intention of completing an associate degree by the time they finish their senior year. But you don't have to be in early college to do that. We have regular dual enrollment students from all of our high schools who have worked hard and can get an associate degree. But then we have some students that don't want an associate degree. They just want to get a couple of college credits and move on. So yes, that is an opportunity if your student has the ability in their schedule to do that. It can be any program that does not require a special admission. So we do have some programs that have some age restrictions and things like that. But for example, we've got students who've gotten degrees in culinary arts and degrees in cybersecurity and degrees in welding. So it's not limited to those transfer degrees. We have other students completing degrees in other areas as well.
This year, 1/5 of our graduating class were high school students who marched across the college stage with associate degree certificates in hand before they graduated.
Right. Remember we said at the beginning we had 98 high school students walk across our stage, so it is possible. It is possible. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. It is possible, but it is rough because it's a lot. That's a lot to expect of a high school student, because if they still need to take high school classes during the day, they also have to go to work for the apprenticeship. They've also got to complete those apprenticeship required courses. And then if they're trying to get an associate degree on top of that, that is a lot of time and effort. I would talk with Ms. Kaufman if that's something you're thinking about, because she can give you kind of a realistic view of what that would look like. Correct. Good question. Yes, ma'am. So usually the apprenticeship courses, because they're career focused, they would count typically towards CTE credit. So if your child is looking to get completer status for CTE, a lot of those apprenticeship courses will count towards that. They won't count towards the core. If the apprenticeship doesn't require English, you're probably not going to get an English credit for graduation, and so on and so forth. So usually those classes are career focused and would count more on the CTE side as opposed to the general education side for the high school. Yes, ma'am. Because I think the online application system will only accept one attachment. So if you've attached like another set of test scores or something like that, yeah. So if you want to send us, here, let me go to, where are we? If you want to send us that transcript to dualenrollment@tridenttech.edu, we'll add it to your student's record that way. No problem. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the difference between, for those of you who don't realize, dual enrollment classes, those college classes, count as AP-weighted classes on the high school transcript. So it's the same as taking an AP class, except you could finish a class at TTC in 7 weeks or in 14 weeks, whereas an AP class, you got to go year long, you got to take the exam, and you got to pass the exam to get the college credit. Dual enrollment, you take the class, you pass the class, you get the credit. Does that make sense? Well, we collaborate, we don't compete. So we like to be friendly and great partners with our K-12 folks. And in some cases, AP might make sense for a student over dual enrollment. Difference there, and I'll be honest, AP classes are free. You pay for the exam, but you don't pay for the class because it's a high school class. So it may make more sense for a student to go that route as opposed to dual enrollment. However, if you're trying to get more bang for your buck, I'm going to promote dual enrollment. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. If your high school approves your student to take dual enrollment, they're giving her permission to take those classes in lieu of the high school class. And with the understanding that as long as she passes that class, she'll get the high school credit for it along with the college credit. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so let's say you're a dual credit student. You're not planning to get an associate degree before you graduate, but you want to continue at TTC after you graduate. There is a process that you must follow. Before you leave today, if that's something you think you might be wanting to do, stop by the recruiting table and pick up an enrollment guide, because there are steps for you to complete in order to continue your studies at TTC. Usually you have to apply again and declare your major. You've got to do the FAFSA. You've got to do all the things that you would traditionally to become a college student. But there is a whole list of checklist in that enrollment guide that will outline that process for you. Our office can help through that process. We can answer any questions and kind of help guide you through that process, of course, but once you've completed that, then you'll be assigned to an academic advisor or a navigator in our enrollment hub who will help advise you on the courses that you'll take once you've graduated from high school. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so for those of you who came early, we had QR codes on, oh, one more question? Okay, yes. Well, first, I would say have a conversation with the high school to make sure, because they do need to give permission. We can enroll ninth graders, but it's up to the high school. But yes, you can, for dual credit, apply as early as ninth grade if your high school approves it. Yeah. Okay, guys, so there are QR codes out on the table, outside on each of the tables, and I'll go back to the very beginning. Wrong one? Okay. There are updated QR codes out on the tables. If you could, please, before you leave, hit that QR code on your phone to register. We want to know who you are and what schools you're coming from. And of course, if we need to reach out to you and share additional information, we'd love to be able to do that. But thank you guys so much for coming out today. I hope it was informative and helpful. And I'll let you close it out.
If you are a Cane Bay High School student, please see me so that I can give you your signature that says that you were present. We thank each of you again for coming out. Know that we are here as your resources. Don't hesitate to send us an email or ask us any questions. Thank you.
Check 1 2 1 2.